Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk inner and outer tie rods used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off and pull up the handbrake. To be able to change the inner and outer tie rods on your vehicle, you must lift the front of the car and remove the wheels to gain complete access to the steering system. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels, raise the front of the vehicle and put it in the two-axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. You can now see the outer tie rod end. As the components to be removed are very often seized up, don't hesitate to brush and to use penetrating oil to facilitate the operation. With a marker, trace a line between the axle joint and the tie rod end. It will help later during the disassembly and reassembly process. Using a 21mm spanner, release the holding nut on the tie rod end. Hold the tie rod axle joint with a 21 spanner to prevent it from turning. The lock nut is there to prevent any rotation of the two parts towards each other, which could have an impact on the alignment of your vehicle. Using a 17mm spanner, release the holding lock nut on the tie rod end. It is now time to release the tie rod end from its socket. If you do not have a ball joint puller, take a hammer and hit the lock nut hard just at the end of the threading. The ball joint should move away from the pivot. Only tap on the tie rod end pivot if you're changing the tie rod end, otherwise you risk damaging the threading. Finish removing the nut from the tie rod end. If your tie rod end rotates with a nut, you can prevent this rotation using a 5mm Allen socket. Paying close attention to the point of reference, unscrew the tie rod end, counting the number of turns necessary to extract the tie rod end. This will allow you to find an approximate setting when reassembling. For greater accuracy, we advise you to measure the distance between the lock nut and the end of the tie rod ball joint using a caliper. In any case, an alignment check will have to be carried out by a professional soon after having performed this operation. Remove the lock nut from the axle joint. With pliers, remove the external metallic clip on the protective sleeve of the tie rod axle joint. Using a flat screwdriver, remove the inner collar from the sleeve. With a cutter, cut the external part of the sleeve so that you can remove it. Remove the sleeve. Using a tie rod iron or extractor, a specific tool for carrying out this job, you can now loosen everything without difficulty. To do this, insert the tool up to the fixed part of the tie rod, then, with a socket wrench, force it in an anti-clockwise direction. If the tie rod axle joint is equipped with marks, release them using adjustable spanners.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.
You will find the bulk, parts and products used in the video on the Mr. Auto site and in the link in the description. Take the new axle joint and unscrew the lock nut provided with it. Then put it in the steering cock housing. Still using the same tool or using an adjustable spanner, block the tie rod axle joint, but in a clockwise direction this time. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Then remove the tool. Take the new sleeve. Apply silicone grease to the part of the tie rod axle joint that will be in contact with the sleeve. Put the internal clip back on. We recommend putting screw clips on, as access is really rather difficult when trying to use a specific tool. To make it easier to place the sleeve in its slot, you can turn the wheels so that the sleeve is easier to thread into its slot. Tighten the clip, being careful not to exaggerate for fear of damaging the protective sleeve. Then put the external clip in place. Screw the lock nut back on until the distance measured with the caliper is reached. Take the new tie rod end. Replace the tie rod axle joint until it touches the lock nut. Replace the bolt joint in the pivot. Reinstall the nut supplied with a new part and tighten it using a 17mm spanner. During this operation, it will work on the steering system of your vehicle. Checks on tyre alignment, when carried out by a professional, will guarantee that your steering system has been perfectly aligned and is in good working order. Finish off the tightening with a torque wrench. Finalize the tightening of the lock nut using a 22mm spanner while holding the tie rod end using a 21mm spanner to avoid damaging the tie rod end. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put your car back on the ground and block the wheels securely. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.